Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Full Quarter Podcast on 1WSR.com. My name is Mpho and I've got Tim Delace here with me. What do? We talk about cricket, South African cricket. It's a little bit of an alternative podcast. We don't give you there are a few podcasts out there, but this podcast gives you probably a little bit more raw, a little bit of inside information, but it's fun. And we try to have a lot of fun. We've talked about our domestic season, and we're the only podcast that does that. So you can catch us on that. A few podcasts prior. So please go check that out. We've spoken about guys who need to move. We've spoken about guys from Division 2 need to come up. We also cover the Proteas, which we're going to do that. We've also covered Momentum Proteas. The one other thing before we continue is if you'd like to advertise in this podcast, we've got thousands of viewers, followers, and subscribers. So if you want to reach those people, please do send me an email at mpho@1wsr.com. Outside of that, what a week. Tim, how are you after the weekend that was?
Yeah, look, I'm good. This morning I went on Instagram and I saw a video from Pommy and Bungra, and he posed a question just much like I'm feeling this morning. Was what we saw good for the game, or is it okay if it happens occasionally? Because what we saw was basically batsmen batting against bowling machines. That's what we saw. There was nothing for the bowlers of any kind, of any variety. So I'm happy. I'm good. I'm not complaining. I'm just I'm a little bit weary. I don't want that to be something that happens on a regular basis.
I'm on the other side, Tim. No, wait. Okay. As a purist, and a lot of something that irritates me about cricket, right? The guys who love Test cricket. I do love Test cricket. I love one-day cricket because it's an easy way to decide who actually is the best in the world without having them play 5 days over however. Because you can't have a Test World Cup, right? I'd love that, but you can't have that. You can have a Super League, but until Pakistan can travel to India, or a Test Championship, until Pakistan can go to India, it doesn't make sense, right? Cool. And then until we all play everybody. So in one, you can. So my thing is this: you can make the Test Championship a 3-year cycle, right? Everybody plays everyone in minimum 3 Test series. If you want to make it a 5 Test series, the 2 tests on the back end don't count for anything. That's how I see it. But anyway, that's it. I'm happy because T20, for people who are purists, they don't like it, right? I don't think T20 should be a balance between bat and ball. I think T20 should be a run fest. I think T20 should be, whoever can score the most amount of runs. Let T20 be what so many people when they're watching the Twitter fronts, they're like, no, let people dope. Let's see what they can do, how fast they can go. So let's see it's entertaining, right? So I look at baseball, right? Baseball, you will get about 3-4 home runs in about 18 innings. So you're going to sit 3-4 hours to see the ball fly out the stadium 4 times. If at all. Whereas T20 cricket, or that game yesterday, we had over 100 boundaries. It was ridiculous. I loved it.
There we go. It was ridiculous. Look up the word ridiculous in the dictionary. That's what it was. Ridiculous.
Yes. And ridiculous sells. Ridiculous puts seats in the stadium. Now, imagine if KFC said, if you caught a ball in the boundary, you get a bucket of chicken. Makes life even easier because more people are going to be coming. So I'm sitting here on we need more of this. I'd like to petition the ICC. It doesn't matter where you have the next T20 World Cup. The final must be at Centurion. But God don't care where in the, you can be in the West Indies. Whoever makes it to the final flies to South Africa, plays a Centurion, so we can see runs. Because the problem with cricket and in ODI cricket in finals is that we don't get enough runs. You'll get about a 250, 220 type of game when things get a little bit worried, which is why I loved about the SA20, right? And which is why people complained about the SA20 final, right? Was that we came out of Aiden Markham scoring 100 and Reason nearly scoring 100, and there are Lions, the Joburg Super Kings, nearly chasing down 225 in a game where 450 runs were scored, to come to see 130 plays. I don't know how it was in the SA20 final. That, as a viewer, as someone who's new to the game, runs are the currency for players and the currency for people to put bums on seats. People don't come to watch Kagiso take a five-star unless if you know Kagiso's background and you know him as a test cricket. They don't do that for T20. They come to see runs. So you have a nice little situation right now where if you can score if each T20 can be like 200 runs each, it would make life so great. Or at least 180 plays 180. We don't want to see 150. No, no, really not. I
I
feel
love that. I love that we're going to disagree. I love those low-scoring T20 games. I love them. Okay, I agree. You wouldn't want that to be the staple diet of T20 cricket. You would want to see 180, 190. But the fact that we have those 150s, 140s, I love those games because they
guys,
add so much tension. They don't give you the boundaries that the majority of fans go to. I get that. That is certainly true. But the idea that seeing a middle stump fly out the ground when they put the wickets in loosely is not exciting. It's not
no,
true.
it is exciting. You
It is
still get
exciting.
wickets. I'm just trying to say, let's go minimum 180. You'll still, because here's my thing, right? If you're chasing 200, right, or you're trying to be very aggressive, right, and Kagiso comes in and he takes middle stumps out and it's exciting, and we've got Zinger Bales, at least let the team get to 180. 180 is still you want a sense of urgency in the game. And that's the problem with test cricket that bothers us, that only day 5 you get urgency, and day 5 is interesting because people are wanting to win games or wanting to not lose, right? That's what I like about ODI cricket, is that there's a target. You need to set it. The only problem is that what I'm saying is that there should be a minimum level. There should be like every team gets like a 250 minimum. You then decide how far you want to go high. Because the reason with the 438 game, we all sat there going, oh, it's a damn squib. And South Africa all of a sudden were like chasing it. There was urgency. Even with yesterday, I was like, okay, they'll get close, but batting second at Centurion may not help you. But obviously, we saw in the night before it actually did. So then you're like, okay, cool, this is quite interesting. Let's see how far they'll get. I didn't think they could score over 230. Well, was I surprised? Very surprised. But I kept on watching because you're like, they're 160 after like 12 overs, and you're just like, they still need about 90. And there's like 45 balls left. Can they still make it? And you just kept on watching. 5 overs left, 60 of 36. Mathematically, I'm like, yeah, South Africa should get there. But somebody who doesn't know this game is like, they're running out of balls still. It's still too much. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, we're going to talk about South African Netherlands squad. That was announced. We'll talk about it at the end. So wait for the end. We're going to talk about that. Tim, game 1. It's raining a little bit. 11 overs. I like Mark Nicholas said something, I'll agree with him. He was like, T11 works. T10 does. T11 is like, yeah, it works. What a game, a shortened game. Because shortened game gives you aggression, right? But I'm sitting there going, I'm thinking about this West Indies squad, and then we'll talk about how you found the game. The West Indies squad is England, but they have very poor bowlers. Okay, 1, they don't have a wicket-taking wrist spinner, and also don't have a guy who bowls 150 accurately. They've gone to the whole, all our all-rounders can bat. They can bat until 9, and that's who they are. And it's a in a shortened game like that, it brings them into the game. Because I think, and you saw yesterday, they were just even worse than South Africa were with the ball, um, defending 258. I don't like this type of team. I really don't. But there's a place for them in world cricket. They're just completely aggressive. They'll either be bowled out for 140 or they'll give you 250 or even. And they've gotten the formula right because now they've got batters who can actually score runs. And that was my worry. It was like, this West Indian T20s is actually gone. It's like that batting order is just insane. But how did you find that first game? Because that first game was electric. The second game was great. That one, I was like, this is like a 100-meter sprint.
Yeah. The first game was weird. It was really weird. But I agree with you. The West Indies issue in both games was the over reliance on the bowling, on the all rounder bowling options. The fact that Roston Chase was playing in that first game is just insane. Roston Chase was playing in that first game, and he batted at 9. It was just
that was the shock. I was like, why is he coming out at 9?
It made no sense at all. Absolutely no sense. They do have the right Arsenal. Mash, who we had before this whole tour started, he was saying that you can't have Romario Shepherd and Odean Smith. You can pick one, and one of them is going to be hard-hitting batsman who can bowl 1 or 2 overs. You can't have both of them. If you have both of them, and you're relying on them in the bowling department, then you're asking for trouble. And that's essentially what happened. It was a strange game. It could either way. But the result you kind of knew what South Africa were going to do if they won the toss in the second game. It kind of played to, this is what we're going to do in the second game. This is where we got slightly wrong. But yeah, I suppose my initial thoughts were, it's almost like a pre-season game. It's almost like that. It didn't have the feel of a knockout game. Whereas the second game, because it genuinely had the feel of West Indies win this, they win the series. It had that feel. The first one was a sort of seeing each other out kind of thing.
Drained, and you're like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, it's 11 overs, and everyone, I think my, like, whatever game is reduced, I feel cheated out of the full experience. It's like you're having a starter, not having the main meal. It was nice, but you wanted a little bit more, and I would have wanted to see how South Africa responded after those, because we saw yesterday what could have happened on Saturday, essentially. But there's a lot to be said about that Centurion pitch. But I'm very thankful, very happy. High scores. Finals, semi-finals, bring them to the Highveld. Just like Centurion. Let everyone play at Centurion. Doesn't matter if the pitch is going to be flat. It makes it even better. It's what it is. But Sheldon Cottrell bowled really well in that game, and I think he was the difference between the two sides. We got 130 with South Africa limping at the end. Sisanda Magala, chef's kiss with amazing with the bat. Loved watching him. But Sisanda's always been that guy, right? He's always long levers. He can do it. 1805, that's what you want. David Miller, 48 from 22. That's what you want, right? But it was the team that bowled better, and the West Indies thoroughly bowled better than the South Africans. And if you think about it, right, the West Indians, as I said before, just they're all-rounders. Their bowlers aren't that great. The West Indian bowling hasn't been great, but If it's a shortened game, brings him in, and you just needed 2 overs from Sheldon Cottrell for nothing, less than 10, and you're in. And that's what they were saying, right? And I thought the West Indians, who probably were more used to playing like the T10 format, as Rovman Powell said in the press conference, it kind of suited them, and they knew what they needed to do. And yeah, I was really impressed by the West Indies. Then I was like, you're giving yourselves a chance, just like in the ODI series, right? The first ODI they won, they bowled really well. Then South Africa just fell apart at the seams. And the guys, the guys there, like I like the look of Brandon King. I think he should come into the Test side. Like I think he's a proper batsman, you know. Obviously you got Nicholas Pooran, he hasn't done much, but Johnson Charles making me feel like on the Sunday, and let's move to Sunday. Johnson Charles, I'm sitting there going, if I'm Durban Super Giants, I'm like, what did that Bangladesh franchise pay you for you not to come and play with us? Because they needed a batter. Johnson Charles just sat there showing us everything. I remember I did a podcast after the auction and was like, who is he? Timber's better? No, Johnson Charles, by all means. You said, Tim, you actually told me that he hits boundaries. Oh boy, he hit boundaries in that game. That second game was just insane. Oh, Johnson Charles, 118 or 46. Oh, he was on fire. Unstoppable. And the Proteas looked helpless. They really looked helpless. And at the innings break, I thought, can a team bowl even worse than this team? And the answer was, there is. The West Indies. And there goes to your Odin Smith point, where it was, they just have one too many all-rounders. It's a problem. And then there's another guy who's throwing, Raymond Rifa, we see you. We know you don't bowl that often. But, dude, no. We can see that. We can see that. Like Pangi, you were like, degrees.
Well,
This man is throwing.
I'm gonna take exception to that tweet because I didn't notice it during the game. I will notice that.
How? How did you not notice that?
I didn't notice it. The ruling is
like pitching on a mound.
The ruling is that picture that is being circulating on Twitter. If the arm stays like that throughout the delivery, it's fine. It's not a problem.
So he can't whip.
He can't whip. If it's bent and it's bent throughout the way, it makes no difference. It's absolutely legitimate. If you want to do bowl the bent arm, that's fine, but it's got to be obviously above the 15 degrees.
Yes.
And it's bent throughout. If he is straightening, if he's flexing at the point of delivery, then he's chucking. I didn't notice it at the time, so I'm not gonna call him out for that. I did find that a bit strange at the time. I could be wrong. Maybe he is, but all I will say is I didn't notice it in the game.
Okay, cool. I think so. You make a really great case. Because my only issue is, why can't umpires call it out in the game? If they suspect someone is throwing, but it's probably for that reason, Tim, is you need video evidence to determine whether someone's throwing or not, which is fundamentally problematic with the rule right now, right? Is that somebody can take 4 wickets. Let's say Raymond Rifa took 4 wickets yesterday and South Africa didn't win. What do we say to that? Because to the naked eye, me watching, I'm like, this guy's, it'd be fascinating if he took wickets. I think he did. He took 1. And he won. And it was the same thing with Pangiso in the SA20. You know, they cited him after he was like number 1 wicket taker. And then I'm sitting there going, but if I'm all the other teams, I'm putting up a protest. Because it's illegal.
If the West Indies won yesterday, it would have been, okay, Johnson Charles was fantastic, but it would have been a larger part to Rifa. Rifa was going for 8.5 and over, where everybody else was going for 12s and 13s. I think when he finished his 4 overs, he was going for less than 9 and over. When the score is over 250. I know we had something like...
He went for 10.5. 4 overs, 2 runs, and 1 wicket. He was the best bowler out of the West Indians yesterday.
yeah. I think that last over he must have got done. But I'm sure
Yeah.
he had 8 overs, 1 for 27. I think in that last over he went for as I say 15. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that. So it could have been. It could have been absolutely huge. It could have been absolutely
No,
huge.
no, but and that's my issue. But let's go back to the cricket, right? So, why did the West Indies score 256 runs? How did they get there? The South Africans, were they bowling that badly? And also, what happened to the Yorker? Is the Yorker no longer used?
So 2 points. I can't remember the series, but we had a discussion around the South African bowling. I think it was a game that they lost, South Africa. I think it was a similar, the same format. It was at Centurion, and I said to you, what's happened to back of a length bounces things? You said to me, and you were absolutely spot on. You said to me, you bowl short at Centurion, you're going.
Yes.
Unless you are targeting it 100% on the money, you are going
At his
to
head.
town. You are going. So that's what
There
happened
was
when they did.
Tim before.
When they
There was a six that who was it? Quinton de Kock hit. He pulled that thing to Mars. I was like, it was one of the biggest sixes I've ever seen. I was like, dude, that's why you don't bowl short. Because
so and I
the problem was
so
playing on the high
yeah
felt. But I was asking this question for people who are new who don't understand.
mm,
But the problem with playing on the high felt is that, and it's the same thing. If you play any sport up here, rugby, golf, whatever it is, rugby balls go further than when you're playing at the coast. Golf balls go way further when you're playing up here. Cricket balls, by the same, you can even use the same transitive properties, will fly. And they do. And that's why the 438 game is at the Wanderers, which is on the Highveld. And now this game is at Centurion. The only difference with the Wanderers now is that the Wanderers pitch is just, yeah, more bowler friendly than we expect. But what length did the bowlers need to bowl? Because they weren't bowling Yorkers, they weren't bowling cutters. And Lungi wasn't playing yesterday. Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah.
no, he wasn't. Yeah.
And Dile was in the KFC bucket, who is probably one of the best skill players, to skill bowlers we have. So it was just pace meeting bad lines, bad lengths, and yeah.
Um, they asked the guys this. They've asked the guys. They asked even they asked. Dale Steyn had a questionnaire recently on his Twitter page, and somebody said something about the loss of the Yorker ball. And Dale Steyn, I'm paraphrasing slightly, but Dale Steyn said, if you bowl the Yorker in T20 cricket, you're going out of the ground. Essentially, that's what he said. And I disagree. I really disagree. Yes, if you're going to bowl that and only that, then the batsman over time is going to get used to that and he's going to get himself in a position to hit you straight over your head if he's good enough, for sure. But the fact that we have seen so few in this fixture yesterday, I think was a missed opportunity from all of the bowlers. There were a couple of wide ones, wide Yorker legs, which tended to be wide. And the bowler didn't go, you know what? Let me get my direction slightly online so you can get it. The bowler then went short. He didn't try and correct himself. He overcorrected. And that was the issue. The fact that we don't see enough, I don't think we see enough slow ball Yorkers, fast Yorkers, leg stump ones that are just like inside the wide line, and that there are a variety of Yorkers that you can be bowling. The fact that we don't see that, I think, is a missed opportunity. I really think. And I think it could have been a thing I could have used.
Yeah, and here's my thing, right? I know a lot of people don't like Lungi Nkiti. I think Lungi is the most skilled bowler we have right now. Marco's too green. All Marco knows is pitch it on a length and let it go. He gets some swing. Well, swing gets punished up here. He gets a little bit of bounce, but yeah, it's help. The thing about the bounce of Centurion compared to the Wanderers, this bounce is helpful. This bounce, you're bowling back of a length elsewhere in the country. It comes rib height, still not nice. Back of a length now brings you up here, and boom. At the Wanderers, it's up here. And then now you're contending with top edges and everything else. My thing is, I look at that bowling lineup. It sounds like there's no skilled player. There's no one who I can trust to give me a cutter. I know Nokia can give me a cutter. Nokia's cutter is 130 k's an hour. There's a 20 differential there, and the change of pace is great, but Andile can give me a cutter for 100. Lungi can give me a cutter at 110. That's the type of things that I was looking for. The other problem was Tabrez Shamsi. Oh, I love Tabrez. I love you. I don't know what's going on. But we need you dialed in. We need you focused. Because I thought he would be the difference in terms of breaking the game open. Because whenever the fast bowlers go for runs, Shamsi's the wicket taker. And Shamsi's always your wicket. He's a top 3 wicket taker in the last 4 years. He knows what he needs. It's actually top 1. Because then you've got the quicks of Lungi and Andile's up there, and then you've got Anrich and the guys. My thing is this: I think we kind of made a mess with what we were trying to do. I know Sisanda can bowl cutters, and I know Sisanda's a great T20 bowler, and he's good at the death, and that's what he's there for. But in the middle overs, from 8 until 16,
14.
It's 3 bowlers who operate for me. It's Shamsi, it should be Ngidi, and it should be Petlugwai. And I know, but then that's going to bring a question as to who goes out in this team, right? Parnell, I think we need to have a conversation around Wayne, because he's in there for his batting, but he's not giving you what Andile gives you with the ball, right? And then we have a question about Kagiso and Anrich. You need to have one. You can't have both in T20 cricket. You need to choose, and you need to choose quickly, because you're denying yourself the because Lungi's taking wickets yesterday, Andile's taking wickets yesterday. Yet they posted him in the KFC bucket with fans who don't know who Andile is. Great beard, by the way, bro. Great beard. Love it.
I think you're saying to Kagiso, retire from this. You can play your T20 leagues, you can play your SN20 and IPLs. We can't stop you doing that, but we need you firing for 50
what
over
I'm
and the.
saying is this: bilateral series, I don't need you. You can against the West Indies at home, it's fine. In a World Cup situation, right? The decision between Kagiso, it's him and Sisanda. So Kagiso comes with me to the World Cup. He's in my World Cup squad, right?
Yeah.
It's just that between him and Sisanda, they're my death bowlers. That's all they do. Kagiso might even bowl 2 overs in the game. That's fine. I'm okay with that. But he's my death bowler. But I'm resting you in the bilateral series because I know what you can do. I really do. I don't need to know that. I need to get others, the Marco Janssens, the Lungis, the Einrichs, the ability to bowl T20-ish, to build all those cutters, to bowl slow ball bounces, And so for me, that's it. I don't want to not go to a World Cup without Kagiso if he's fit. Any World Cup at that case. My only question is, at this point in time, from a matchup point of view, having Kagiso and Anok doesn't work. And I think Delhi had the same issue. One will fire, one will not, because I feel they're bowling at the same time that the other one needs to bowl. But you can't have them on both ends, because then I think it makes it easier for the batters, because then people are chucking it down at 150. All I need to do is get a piece of bat on it. So for me, that was it. But now let's move over to the batting, Tim. South Africa's batting. Oh. I think man of the match yesterday was Reza Hendricks. Quinny deserves it, but nothing's going to be said about Reza. Reza is so the way I look at it, if you look at the 4-3-8 game, right? Herschel was the blaster. He ran with it, right? Did everything. Graham scored that 100, worked through it, did what he needed to do. That Reza innings is just as good as Graham Smith's innings in that game. That's how I see it. So on Christmas Day, when you guys all watch Reza. Quinton's a show. We always know he's a show. Reza at some point, I think when Quinton was on 90 in the 90s, Reza still had a higher strike rate than Quinny. Reza was just dealing in fours. He was just carving you up in fours. He wasn't carving up in sixes. He was just every ball that was outside off stump. Doesn't matter if it was short. It was back of a length. He was just cutting you through. There was this one where he played it late and it just went past point and it was going. Oh, I was like, Reza. Yes, Reza's a show, guys. Reza is a show. I was so impressed by Reza. The other problem I had is when he started losing wickets, I was like, okay, we kind of need people to stick in, and Aiden and David did the job, which is awesome. But that top three, oh yes, and then obviously, who was it? Riley looked like he was playing baseball yesterday. There was those two back-to-back sixes. He looked like he was Bryce Parsons of the Phillies, left-hander, just finding Kyle Corner just because, yeah, we're playing baseball. But how great was it to see our batting lineup do this?
The idea of having wickets at the back end of a T20 is gone. The idea of getting yourself 7 and over after 6 overs, sort of 50 after 6, that's gone. It's out the window.
The whole 15 overs and we'll reassess. That's gone.
Yeah, that's gone. The whole security, the whole being conservative and keeping wickets in hand is gone.
Mark Butcher held us back, guys.
And it's glorious. It's glorious. It's absolutely glorious. Just on that game yesterday, and they were both relevant, but the game yesterday, everyone went for it. Everybody came in. Nobody said, you know what, I'm going to get myself in. I'm gonna bat for 6 or 7, 8 balls to get myself in. Nobody. You talk about Riley's innings, 16 or 4. The point there was the impetus. The impetus was still with South Africa. He went out there, scored those boundaries, got out. This guy comes in, gets in, smacks the ball all over the park. The only time when I was a little bit worried
was when we had two new batters at the crease.
The 2 new batters in the crease, and they were
Miller and Markram. And you're
Miller and Markram,
what are we doing?
For like about 9 balls. 9 balls, they were just rotating the strike, and I was like, guys, you do know it's 259. You do know that the total is 259. Could you please revert back to what we're supposed to be doing?
That time, Markham and Miller telling you, Tim, no, dude, those guys bought us a lot of time. And that's sort of thing about the batting innings, right? It felt like they had so much time. There was urgency on the scoreboard, but they were batting like that's so much time. Like even in that period, I was like, yeah, no, it's okay. Run rate is still 12. It was 11 at the time. Actually, I was like, okay, no, it hasn't gone above 12. Like we need to find a way to pause and reassess. And then when Miller got out, I was worried. I was sitting there going, oh, West Indies are 1 wicket away. We don't have a Roston Chase batting a 9. We've got Wayne Parnell, whose strike rate is 77. We've got Bjorn Fortuin, whose strike rate is 80. And you have Sisanda Magala, whose strike rate is 188. So, yeah, I was going, oh, they must be telling themselves we're 2 weeks away. We're 1 wicket away. And then that wicket never fell because Heino Klaassen because when I saw it was Heino Klaassen and Aiden Markram batting, I was like, oh, no, yeah. The last 2 people to score hundreds at Centurion. Okay, cool. It's fine. Yeah, we're good. But...
yeah, look, it was glorious. I just hope it continues. I hope that this is... I hope that this particularly in the second game, I hope the approach is not an anomaly. I hope the approach is not a one-off, because this is just an extraordinary game where literally every ball goes out of the ground. I hope that this continues going forward. I hope that we see this tomorrow. we might not see as many runs, but I hope we see this approach. To see this approach from every single batsman was refreshing. It was really refreshing. And none of them seemed scared. None of them seemed in their shells. You can't afford to be in your shells at this format, but there were times in the last 18 months where we were. There were times when we thought that the situation was too big. We felt the situation was too big for us. We played a semi-final, and it was too big for us. There were periods in the last 2 years where you could see cards just falling apart. So I hope
even in that Netherlands game, my only worry
absolutely.
is, and the thing that kind of proved to me was the Saturday, right? We kept on losing wickets as we went on because Riza fell early, but there was still that impetus. The thinking around that team was, let's try to score as much as we can. And I thought 100 after 11 overs, that's okay. That's decent. It's actually not decent. That's a very good total.
Must feel good.
It's a very good total in that 11 over game. But they went to score 130. And my thinking is that in the midst of them losing wickets, that impetus was there. Nobody went in to be like, okay, guys, let's get ourselves to over 7. Let's get ourselves to over 9. And then we'll give ourselves 2 overs to at least try to score 40. Something like that, which was the previous regime. So I was happy with that. Really, really happy with that. Tim, as you talk about tomorrow, what does your team look like?
I'm not playing a spinner. It hasn't been.
Tim.
It hasn't
not
been
even Bjorn.
Not even Bjorn. No. I'm delighted that he's at the squad. I think that, particularly with the West Indies setup that they have, they want to play Bjorn. They want to play Shamo at the moment. They don't want to play Shamo when he's at his elite best, I don't think. But he isn't at his elite best at the moment. So for me, Lungi comes in for Shamo.
Okay.
And then the next question is a question, and it's a legitimate question. I think Andile comes in for Wayne. I think that those are the changes that I'm making.
Okay.
If you are playing Wayne, you are not batting him any higher than 9.
Yes.
If you are, and you are just cutting yourself. We saw in the first game, he scored 3 off 4 balls. Below him, Magala came in below him, scored 18 off 5.
Yes. Sisanda for me is an 8. If Marco's playing, Marco bats at 7.
Yeah. That's the way I'm thinking. I think Wayne will play. I think they like him. Yes, he's primarily a bowler, I think, at the moment, despite the fact they are batting him too high. That would be my only sort of close call, shall we say. But I think Lungi has to come in for the next one. Okay. Whoever drops it, I think Lungi has to come in.
Okay. So there's no Andile here in the squad. Did he join
Oh,
the squad?
sorry.
So I just wanted to check. So we're stuck with Wayne. Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, we're stuck with Wayne. I'm not putting in Tristan. I'm not. They said pretty much that they weren't going to play him.
Yeah.
I don't really know why.
I'm comfortable with that.
But they basically said that at the before the series started. So yeah, okay. Apologies. Then it's just the one change. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm keeping Bjorn. And him and Aiden will bowl those overs because I'm thinking SA20 final. So I'm keeping Bjorn and I'm taking out Shamsi for Ngiti. I don't want to do that. It's against my better judgment, but I know Bjorn takes more wickets than Keshav Maharaj, so I'm okay with that. And I've watched Rula Fanamava take a 6 for in a final, so at the Wanderers a month ago. So I'm okay with having my left arm spinner there. It's also going to be a run fest, a massive run fest tomorrow. I think it's also going to be another 180, 200 type of game. Small boundaries, big West Indian levers. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And you chase, win the toss and chase. That's how you do it here. So that's where we are. I'd love to have Andile in the T20 side, but yeah, Andile, please work on your batting. Leave the Dolphins. Go be a T20 specialist at the Northwest. Help, because the only way Northwest will survive is if they like come third in the T20 competition. So you'd help them a lot. So please go score runs there. Okay, that's enough about the squad. Tomorrow, the Proteas play West Indies in the decider. We have a decider. It's been a while since we said decider. So third ODI, it's gonna be great. Mash is gonna be excited because that T20 side for the West Indies is amazing. It's insane. Okay, their bowling is a little, but their batting is wow.
Their batting is just on another level. It really is.
Like I'm worried for tomorrow. I'm trying to figure out how do I bowl at the Wanderers. Do I like try to dig it in short, but it's gonna be wide? Okay, so I'm at the point where I'm like, you know what, guys, just bowl it back of a length, straight onto the stumps. If he misses, you hit. That's what I'm top of off. Try to do that.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna go in the air, but there's nothing we can do. There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
And maybe with a bit of a change of pace, that could.
And if he makes room and cuts it over point for 6, more victory to him. He gets the victory. That's you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, or if he flicks you off the pads to Cal corner, there's nothing I can do. Sorry, dog. Like I don't know where you can bowl on any of those pitches, either Centurion or the Wanderers, without necessarily getting tonked. Unless if you're like trying to cut them for room and don't give them room. That would be my answer. But hey, I watched Reza Hendricks cut people when they were trying to do that. Okay, we have a little thing that we have to do at the end of the week. We're gonna have to play the Netherlands. I think, and then 2 ODIs. Remember, Omicron kind of stopped the series. The first game was rained out, which meant it was abandoned, and the Netherlands got points and the reason why South Africa are staring qualification in the face. Things are going well for South Africa in New Zealand. Sri Lanka's not winning games. Well, they lost the one game, which means that they can only get to 97 points, which means Sri Lanka's going to Zimbabwe. That's going to be fun for them and the West Indies. So now the West Indies are holding on to hope that the Netherlands can do them a favor. So now South Africa have released the squad, the ODI squad, for the 2 ODIs against the Netherlands to be played up here on the Highveld. There's a pink ODI, and I think there's one at Centurion. But yeah, so here's the squad, and I'm going to put it up, I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to tell you one thing about the squad that tells me about the squad. Okay, captain, Temba Bavuma. You got Quinton de Kock, Bjorn Fortuin, Reza Hendricks, Sisanda Magala, Marco Jansen, Hanno Clausen, Anouk Nokia, Wayne Parnell, Lungin Giti, Rassi van der Dissen, Aiden Markram, Tabrez Shamsi, David Miller, and Kagisura Bada. That's a 15-man squad. When you go to a World Cup, you announce how many players, Tim?
15.
So, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, here is the World Cup squad for the World Cup in India. This is it. Have a look. Marinate in it. This is your World Cup squad. That's all this squad tells me. This is who they are. This is where they're going. Congratulations to Marco Jansen on making it in, and Wayne Parnell. Those are the 2 guys I'm worried about in terms of a spot. But I can't fault the batters. I can't fault the bowlers outside of Shamsi, who is the only wrist spinner in the country, unless a Sean van Berg decides to put up his hand. Okay, he's been, but nobody's been taking him seriously. But yeah, that's what it is. Well done, everyone. Congratulations. That's your World Cup squad. There's nothing I can do. Like, I looked at it, I was like, yeah, best 15. Yeah, we'll see the same at the end of the year.
Yeah.
The sad part about it was like Tony DeZorzi, Ryan Rickleton, and Dile. Thank you. It was fun. Yeah. Begumnan. It was nice. It was nice.
Yes. But if you're looking at it properly, if you're looking at it as a Proteas setup, if you're looking at it from a coaching point of view, the fact that we have the 15, quite a few months, I think it's October, September, October, and you've got your squad already, that tells you you're going in the right direction. That tells you that you're going in the right direction. As you rightly point out, 1 or 2 possible changes, but I don't see that happening. The fact that they have got 98% of the squad nailed down is a good thing.
So I just got one question for you, Tim. Are we entering the era of part-time spinner or full-time spinner Aiden Markram in the ODI setup?
Oh,
Or
he's
spinning all-rounder Aiden Markram?
He's a spinning all-rounder
No
in
100.
white ball. He's a spinning all-rounder in white ball cricket. Full stop. Spinning all-rounder, white ball cricket, full stop. That's what he is.
Doesn't have a lot of hundreds in an ODI
No.
cricket, but anyway.
But he's playing in the 50 over format as that, in my opinion. As that. He's gonna bowl. Well, it's gonna bowl more than 6, definitely. If it's gonna bowl more than half, then he's that, in my opinion.
JP Germany-esque.
The
hope that the talent actually catches up to ODI cricket. That in the World Cup, the surprise package for South Africa is Aiden Markram actually living up to his potential. Okay, that's a bet I'm willing to take.
But the big thing. Okay, so there's 15-man squad. The big thing is SA20 is owned by IPL teams. That has meant IPL going players are available for this series. That is enormous. A couple of weeks ago, we sort of talked about possible inclusions who could be playing if they were not available, and not a disservice to them. They would not have done South Africa proud, and they still would have been favourites to get the job done. The fact that the IPL guys are there is absolutely enormous. It's enormous. It creates more pressure, absolutely, but it does mean, barring a really poor performance, South Africa should get the job done. Whatever happens in New Zealand, whatever happens in Ireland, whatever happens for the West Indies, South Africa should get the job done because they got the IPL players.
And that's what it is. It's the strongest possible squad to qualify for or to make it into the World Cup, because now there's World Cup qualifiers. So, yeah, in cricket, that's weird. But anyway, it creates a sense of urgency. It creates viewership. And I see what the ICC were going with this, because if you look at soccer, World Cup qualifiers, especially towards the end, they're well watched. And so, yeah, it just hasn't worked out the way they would have wanted it to. But, yeah. Okay, that's it. Enjoy the T20 tomorrow, Tim. And we've got ODIs in the back end of the week. So when we're back on Monday, we'll be talking either a disaster against the Netherlands or something else. But we've also got a podcast in a couple of days that I'll be releasing with, I think it's Bert.
Our Dutch expert.
Correspondent,
yes, he will be talking about the Netherlands series, and because there are a few new faces to their squad that were not here in 2021, so they'll be talking about that. They're also missing a few individuals, but as I say, we'll be talking about that more in detail later in the week.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much, Tim. Everybody, that'll be the end of our podcast. Enjoy the cricket this week. It's going to be so much fun. There's so much drama that's about to unfold, and there's probably another 400 plus, 500 plus cricket game on the horizon tomorrow. But outside of that, have a great day. Goodbye, and lesale kakahiso. Wait, sorry. Trying to get there.